You're locked into another episode of the Embodied podcast. My name is Josh, and we're glad to be back with you once again this week and delivering those redundant analogies you've come to know and love so much, and of course, always making that intersection between faith and animation. And everybody, it has been a crazy couple weeks again, just with Hurricane Helene coming through and just wreaking havoc in all directions, it seems. Rebecca, it seems like October. I know I grew up in Florida, which was Hurricane City in October, in the fall, basically. And I remember it's scary going through that stuff.
Yeah, it is scary to worry about hurricanes and stuff. I will say what's nice about at least the Floridians, they know how to prepare, which is really good. The other places in the country, not so much. They were not equipped for hurricane weather and for flooding and everything. And man, the pictures, videos, all of that coming out of the East Tennessee area and like North Carolina, like that big strip where Helene went through. It is just devastating to see all of the damage that's there. I don't even know how do you clean out your house after that? So I was listening to a coworker earlier today, actually, and they were saying that the water that comes in from like flooding and stuff is actually contaminated. And so it's not good water. So like, even like linens, like blankets or stuff that you think, I can wash this and then it would be okay. If you can't like bleach it, apparently, then you can't keep it because it's going to be contaminated, which I thought was interesting. So wild, the amount of cleanup that is needed in some of these areas and places that are still like really cut off from everything. Like Asheville, North Carolina, all the bridges are down to get into Asheville. And yeah, that's crazy. So our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in that area, certainly. And please let us know, how did you guys fare if you were in the path of the hurricane? How are you doing? Are you doing okay? We just want to check in on you.
Yeah, so if you need prayers, there is also a lot of charities, a lot of organizations that I know that are already on the ground providing supplies and any needed resources to those who are affected. Because I know that a lot of people, they're without power, they're without water. A lot of people had to start all over, really.
Yeah, completely over. Completely. Have you seen some of the videos of the damage, Josh?
I had, and it's heartbreaking, honestly.
It's horrible. Yeah.
But yeah, so our thoughts and prayers for those who are affected. Well, we watched a movie this past week that took me by surprise, and it took Rebecca by surprise, right?
It did. Yes, I was very surprised. Normally, I can kind of guess where a movie is going. I don't know if my brain is just like thinking ahead quickly. I had several ideas throughout the movie as of to like what was going on, but it surprised me in the end, and I was very happy for the surprise. It was an excellent movie.
And I loved it that you did not know what it was.
Sorry, I know. Well, at least I'm courteous now, and I ask if you want me to tell you my thoughts.
My answer is no.
Most of the time. Now it is. And then, of course, my response is, but how will I be able to say, I knew it?
And then
you believe me.
And then I said, this is a practice in humility if you don't get it. So this is a Studio Ghibli film. And as you know, we've covered many Studio Ghibli films on the podcast. We've covered My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away. This was one that came out in 2015. So recently, still kind of a ways back.
It was like 10 years ago, Josh.
10 years ago.
Yeah, just about.
Wow.
We're almost in 2025.
Oh gosh. Okay, so maybe it is a bit of an older one.
Oh my gosh. We're getting old.
Don't remind me. As a
I
child of the
know.
late 80s, I don't need more reminders of how time has passed. And so the movie we'll be talking about today is When Marnie Was There. Now, a lot of Studio Ghibli films deal with themes of like coming of age, finding your own place, finding your purpose. And this kind of goes right along with that. But I was not prepared for some of the emotional roller coaster that is in this movie.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a huge, huge roller coaster.
So, Rebecca, if you'll give us just a brief little description about When Marnie Was There.
Yeah. So the movie follows our main character named Anna. I want to say she's like 14, something like that. She's a teenager, young teenager, and she's got asthma. She's been living with her guardian for a while, for like most of her life. She's been living with her guardian, which she calls Auntie. And she's just kind of gotten to a breaking point in her growing up, just maturing. And she just feels really sad that and angry really that her family, her parents, and then even her grandmother left her all alone. And so because her asthma is getting worse and she doesn't fit in at school, she ends up going to this little, I don't think it's like a coastal town. It might be. There's a little harbor in the town. So it's like country life, basically, is where she goes. All of the best stories happen that way. You go from the city to the country. Great.
I mean, it worked out for the girl on the holiday, so.
Yeah, it did. So yeah, she goes off to this small town, and then while she's there, she sees this old mansion that is like right on the other side of the harbor, and just kind of falls in love with this mansion and wants to know its mystery. And she ends up meeting a little girl who may or may not be some sort of ghost, and it's a mystery adventure coming of age type of story, and it is truly excellent.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was worth every amount of the 1 hour and 49 minutes.
Yes, it was.
We were trying to decide, okay, well, what are we going to talk about this week? And we had some ideas. We had a couple things, pre-done. We're like, okay, well, I want to put out something a little bit different this week. So we did some Disney. Here recently, we did. Don't think we've done any anime so far since we came back from hiatus. So why not? And why not choose a Studio Ghibli film? But the issue is we've seen a good and fair amount of Studio Ghibli films, except for this one. And I thought that this was a different movie. I thought it was a movie called Makuya, something like that. But it wasn't. It's different. We came across this on Prime Video, so we rented it. But Rebecca, you said that you saw the trailer and you're like, I'm hooked.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We turned on the trailer and I think it was like, I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds into the trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's only like a minute trailer, I guess it was like 15 seconds. We did not finish the trailer. I was like, I'm hooked. I don't know about you, Josh, but I want to watch this.
Yeah, whatever it is, we're doing it.
Yeah, I'm in.
The themes that we'll be focusing on that go right along with self-discovery are healing and forgiveness. So buckle up. It's a ride.
And those two things really go hand in hand, forgiveness and healing.
And forgiveness is a hot topic for many people because I've found that many of us, including myself and including Rebecca, is that when somebody has been mean to us, has wronged us, and has done just something like that's not nice, we're told to forget them. Well, that's kind of the opposite of our human nature. Like, you really want me to forgive somebody who is so rude and and who did me dirty. Like, why should I forgive them? And Rebecca, why is forgiveness so important? Even if it's like one of our, mortal enemies, or somebody who's just, at every opportunity they have made our lives a living heck.
I mean, there are many reasons to forgive people who have hurt us, to forgive ourselves. Forgiveness in general is really important. Not only is it a fundamental belief of Christianity, it is physiologically good for us. Physiologically, psychologically, all of those big words.
That there's something like cathartic about it.
Absolutely. I think that's part of it. Yeah, there's been studies to show that forgiveness, even for those who like aren't Christians, just anyone really, forgiveness, yeah, it like releases something inside of you that has been trapped. And a lot of people think that they can withhold forgiveness for someone and that it's going to hurt that other person. But the truth is, it won't. You're actually hurting yourself when you withhold forgiveness. It's the power of letting go of that hurt is incredibly powerful. You're more stressed when you're harboring unforgiveness.
Well, because you have so much of that weight and you're harboring that unforgiveness, and it's like a boulder. The longer and the more time that you spend just resenting that person and just harboring that unforgiveness, the bigger that boulder gets.
Yeah, I really like that analogy, actually, Josh, because it's almost like you're laying on the ground and you've got this rock on top of you. And yeah, as time goes on, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And you think, well, if I hold on to this, then it's going to hurt that other person and it'll crush them. But in fact, you're crushing yourself. You're squeezing all of the air and life out of yourself rather than the other person. And yeah, so there are some incredible studies out there that prove that forgiveness is good for you, for so many reasons. And then, of course, we've also got the spiritual reasons where the Bible specifically says, I don't know what verse it is, but it says, forgive others as Christ forgave you. And in fact, I think it's in Matthew. It says, in fact, if you don't forgive people, like God won't forgive you. Essentially saying, to me anyway, is that he is serious about this. God is really serious about forgiving other people. And again, forgiving yourself. I think that's really important too, because we can get so caught up in self-hatred. And I don't think that's God's will either. Like, that's not the full picture life, the fullness of life that that Jesus promises us in John 10:10, I believe, is where it is.
And really, forgiving yourself is one of the best things you can do, because it is that first step to healing. It is such a weight and a responsibility that's lifted off of yourself. So if you have been in a situation where it was trauma, or it just wasn't the best type of scenario, and you blame yourself for it and it wasn't your fault, go ahead, take that weight off of you. Forgive yourself. Because sometimes that's the hardest person to forgive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because you've got so many reasons why.
Oh, absolutely.
You shouldn't forgive yourself.
Absolutely. And I've been there. Rebecca's been there. So we know what it's like.
Well, let's talk about Marnie and Anna.
We're giving you all kind of an introduction to kind of the overall topic. So we're going to go ahead and relate it to our characters now. So or they could tell us a little bit about Anna. Again, we know that she has been sent off to the coastal town to live with some relatives, and also she has asthma, doesn't fit in that school. Again, kind of like the synopsis that you gave us. How would you describe her overall attitude towards things when she first arrives?
Oh man, she talk about self-hatred. She's dealing with a lot of self-hatred. I mean, she literally says in the beginning of the movie, I hate myself. She won't let anyone see her drawings. She's an artist, and she just really feels like she doesn't fit in with the other kids, and she isolates herself, further perpetuating this self-hatred. But it's because she believes that she's not good enough and that everyone leaves her. That's the thing that she's really been left with, is that everyone leaves her. Her parents left her, they died. Her grandmother left her because she died. And she's like, I cognitively know that it's not their fault. Like they couldn't help dying, but I still feel left. She's like, what do I do with that? What do I do with that feeling? And she's taking it all really, really hard and hasn't really talked to anyone. Probably because she doesn't feel worthy to talk to anyone, that she almost like deserves all of this treatment. So yeah, that's what she's doing. She really pushes everyone away.
Well, yeah, even when her one of her relatives introduces her to like one of the neighbors who has a daughter, and she says, "Oh, you'll get along so well," and she makes an excuse or a reason to say, "Well, I mean, I've got to go, sketch," or like she doesn't want to make connections, because to her, when she gets close to people, they go away.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And that's scary.
Yeah, it's sad and scary. Yeah. So Anna is harboring all of this resentment. She's not really making any connections. She's kind of forced to go to this light festival with some of these girls in the neighborhood. That doesn't really pan out all that well. And then she finds the Marsh House.
Oh yeah, that's what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
The Marsh House.
And it's this mansion that nobody had, according to the people in the town, but nobody has lived there for many, many, many years, a long time. But someone is there.
Well, Anna keeps seeing this light turn on in like the upper window, and it's this girl getting her hair brushed. And she's like, who is that? What's going on? So she gets really curious and she wants to learn more.
Right. And it's only at night. And so she goes back like during the daytime, and she's like, oh, is anybody here? And she like looks on the window, and like everything's like covered up with like drapes, and like there's like nothing in there.
Yeah, it's like it's still old and been abandoned for a long time. And then she meets Marnie. And actually meets her. She's just like, and turns out that Marnie is the girl in the window. And so she ends up meeting her. She like leaves a boat out for her. And they just kind of, I was kind of weirded out though. I got to say, the very first time that Marnie says, oh, I've known you for a long time. And it was kind of like, why?
Yeah.
Why have you known her for a long time? Who are you?
Okay, so there's a flashback, and this is what I was thinking. There is a flashback of Anna in the past where she is in a chair and she has a doll, and she's looking around at all the people that are saying, "Oh well,
I can't take her.
Yeah, I can't take her. The grandmother's passed away." And the doll looked a lot like Marnie from the back.
Not put that together until like end. Yeah. I thought that was
interesting. I thought it was the personification of the doll. Mm-hmm. Is what it's saying. It's like, okay, but I didn't say it because I didn't want to jump to conclusions too quick, and I'm glad I didn't.
Because you would have been wrong.
I would have been wrong.
Sorry, I was wrong on all of my theories. I had lots of theories.
So Anna and Marnie meet, and they become really fast friends through the whole time, the whole summer that Anna is there.
And they learn stuff about each other, and they open up, and very slowly you start to see this change in Anna, where she was very reserved and kept back. She starts to finally open up.
Yeah, she's more lively. She's like talking to people, her relatives. She has a appetite back. She's not a loner anymore. She's not just like, stuck within a room or off by herself just sketching all the time.
Yeah, she does. I mean, she spends a lot of time with Marnie. Yeah, we come to find out more about Marnie's life too as she grew up. Turns out that because Anna was saying at one point, she was like, Marnie, I envy you and your life. Like, you have these amazing parents, and they throw big parties. You get to go to the party and dance and all of these wonderful things. And Marnie was like, oh no, I think you have a great life because you have, your foster parents, they chose you, and they must really love you. And then we find out that Marnie's life, actually, she is being abused by the staff, and her parents like just leave. They leave the house for like, I don't know, months at a time is what it sounded like. And they would just like randomly come back. But the maids that were there hated her apparently, and they like threatened her. And so Marnie's had a really, really hard life.
Well, not only the maids, that wasn't like Marnie's grandmother. Like, wasn't she?
No, no, no,
No.
no. Who you're thinking of as her grandmother
Yeah.
is the like head housekeeper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one in the kimono.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she was the head housekeeper, and then there were two maids that that really abused her. I don't think they ever hit her, but they just said horrible things to her and like threatened to lock her in the silo and all kinds of bad things.
And as we're talking about the themes of forgiveness and healing, I want to read a couple verses here, and Becky, if you'll read these. These are from Ephesians. So it's Ephesians.
I was just gonna say, yeah. So this one is from Ephesians 4:31, and it says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." And this is such a great verse, particularly for our own lives, and particularly in the case of Anna and Marnie, for that matter. I think honestly that Marnie she really embodies these verses that we just read, because she's had so much done to her. She could have held on to the bitterness and the wrath and the anger and the slander and all of those horrible things that was going on in her life. And instead, she chooses to be kind. She chooses to be tenderhearted and forgiving. I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. She still hurts, because nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be abused, really. And but she chooses a different way. She chooses to if she was a Christian, we don't think she is, but if she was, choosing the path of Christ to forgive those because Christ forgave her, or forgave us, really. And she ends up really showing, I think, through example. Anna, she shows her through example how to forgive and how to walk through sort of that healing process. And I think that's a really big part of the story, is this healing process that Marnie and Anna go through together, and that Marnie really shows Anna how to forgive and how to heal. And it's really beautiful.
And this healing through relationships, really, sometimes God will direct people in your path to help you through a situation, to help you on a path to healing. And I think that's, they're beautiful. Um, I know I've had, a couple of occasions like that, not necessarily healing, the people that had been put in my path that I know have been a absolute God thing that has made me and shaped me to who I am, today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think of our nature of how we were made in the image of God. And I think
Yeah.
part of that image is that we crave community. That's just like part of who we are, is to be in community and to help each other, to support each other. And that's really important. While you were saying, I laughed a little earlier, by the way, when you said what you said, because it made me think of Wicked. It's like, heard it said, when people come into our lives
for a
reason.
reason. Yeah. That's a
Great
good
song.
one. Yeah,
Love
it's
it.
a great song.
But it's true. I mean, people come into our lives. God orchestrates things there. What do people call it, Josh? They call it it's not like a God meeting.
Godsend?
No. Maybe a divine meeting?
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's the term. Divine meeting. A divine appointment. There we go. That's it. It's a divine appointment. We were going to get there eventually. And I definitely think that Anna and Marnie, it's a divine appointment. I mean, there's what's great about this movie is that it has all of the elements of like healing, but there's also this kind of like supernatural thing going on, because it's pretty clear Marnie is from like a different time period in life.
So there is a bit of the, time travel going on on Anna's part.
Yeah, it feels, but we're not sure exactly what's going on throughout the movie, trying to figure it out, but it makes it really fun and interesting. But yeah, so talking about relationships and healing through community makes me think of James 5:16, which says, "Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has great power in its working." And so I think this is important, not for confessing sins necessarily in Anna's case, but just that they're talking and that they're being in relationship. And that's what prayer is. I am convinced that prayer is really just like building a relationship and having conversations with God. That's the main thing. Main part of prayer anyway. The point of it is to build relationship.
Right.
Yeah. So Josh, how do you think that God uses relationships, or do you have an example of how he's brought healing and, all of that in your life?
Well, okay, so for those of you who don't know, Rebecca and I both come from divorced families. It's very heartbreaking, very hard on everyone. And in the town that I grew up in, very conservative, and it's very small, so kind of everybody knew everything, really. And I had this picture of my parents that was like, oh, well, they're so in love, and like, they would never like split up. Unfortunately, decisions are made and consequences take place. And I guess I didn't know really anyone else who had divorced parents, and nobody that I was close with, really. It wasn't until college where I met someone who really took a interest in just, getting to know me. And that person also had a similar story. their parents had reconciled, that they had went through the whole divorce thing, and just getting to talk to that person, um, it was just very, it was emotional, and um, it was therapeutic, because I had been holding a lot of resentment towards my dad. I don't think I'd even forgiven my dad at that point. And I was, again, harboring that unforgiveness because I had been hurt. My mother had been hurt. So there was that part of, unforgiveness, that through this meeting with this person that I knew for, maybe a couple of years going through college. During that time, my heart slowly started moving to that path of, forgiving my father, and also giving that to God, like lifting that weight off of myself.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Honestly, you'd never told that story really before. So that's awesome that that person was able to come into your life and really just, you know, assist with the healing process.
Absolutely. Yeah, and sometimes it takes a person of a similar situation that is also outside of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, either that friend or for some people, a counselor.
And while we're on that topic of the just letting go, but before we get to that, that's also towards the end of the movie, Marnie asks Anna for forgiveness, and we don't know why, but Anna is also harbors unforgiveness towards Marnie for a short time, because she thought that Marnie had left her, they had spent all this time together, and
she left her in the silo.
Yeah, left her in the silo.
Yeah, she disappeared during the storm.
Right. And Anna's greatest fear was, coming true again. Okay, arrow that I get close to leads me. Why did I think that this would be any different?
Ugh, that was heartbreaking.
And it turns out Marnie is locked in her room, and she's banging on the window and forces it open and says, hey, I need you to, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I'm locked up here. And Anna says, of course I forgive you. Just it's this very emotional scene where she's in the water and the waves are crashing, and
yeah, it almost looked like she was going to be swept away by the waves.
Oh yeah, I thought so.
She was really struggling hard, but yeah, she ended up forgiving her, and that was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of the most pivotal moments in the whole entire movie. Towards the end, now that we're getting to kind of wrapping up here, letting go. Sometimes that's what's needed. That's almost the last step in forgiveness, is when you are harboring such resentment and such, ill feelings towards somebody, and you don't know what to do, let it go.
Well, and you notice too, in the movie, it's a process. Letting go is not.
It's not a one and done thing.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a one time thing, and you can't just. You could, I guess, but it's not necessarily like you hear a sermon or somebody talk about letting go, and you're like, yes, I'm going to let go. I'm doing it now, and I'm just going to let it go. God has his own process for healing and that to take you through, and it may take a long time, even though you know you need to let it go, that you need to work through the unforgiveness and everything. It may just take time. And I can definitely say that's true for me. So for me, there was a person in my life who really hurt me and my family, and their actions were just not great choices, at least for me in my life and everything. And I was holding on for 15 years. I knew I wanted to forgive this person so bad. I heard so many sermons. I knew I needed to forgive them. And I just kept holding on to the hurt and the anger and everything. And it wasn't until this person said, "I'm sorry," that everything just disappeared for me. It was like, finally, I can love this person like I've wanted to love this person for a long time. And I mean, my point is sometimes it takes a long time to let it go. So you say, because that sounds so easy, right? Let it go. So that's not how we're saying it. We're not saying it kind of in like we'll just let it go, a callous sort of a way. It's more of like, give yourself the gift of freedom and allow yourself to go through the healing process. And as a result of that, you then can let go and put down those difficult burdens and the pain, so that it doesn't affect you in a negative way.
So as we're talking about all of this, if you have any resentment, if you're harboring any unforgiveness, if you're having a difficult time towards that step of healing, we encourage you to, if you haven't talked with anybody about that, talk with somebody that you trust, whether that's a trusted friend, a counselor, because sometimes, as we've mentioned, that's very helpful. Again, it's not for everybody. And of course, always take it to the Lord, because He's going to make a pathway. He's going to make a way to that path to forgiveness, to healing, because He's the ultimate one who's always going to bring that healing to you.
My favorite way to do that is journaling. If you've listened to the show any amount of time, I'm sure you know that. I love journaling, but you can also just straight up talk with God if you want to.
Journaling is very cathartic. I mean, it's sometimes, it's your therapy sometimes.
Definitely is for me. Is if I can get my thoughts out of my head and put them on paper and see what I'm actually thinking, wow, that makes a big difference for me.
Oh, I would agree. So we didn't tell you the big reveal on when Marnie was there. We want you all to see it for yourselves. Becca cried. I didn't cry. You didn't cry.
Oh my gosh. I not only did I like cry, like we watched all of the credits and I cried the whole time. So
was a sad song. Just
I wasn't even thinking about the song. It was just the story and what happened. And I was like, oh gosh. It was good. It wasn't like a, wow, I'm really sad kind of a crying. It was like a, wow, everything that happened coming together, kind of a cry. So it's good. Definitely recommend taking some time to watch this for sure.
And before we end today, if you'd like this episode, go ahead and give a like on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. And ring the bell for notifications so that you're notified every time we post a new video. Until next time, keep those halos shining and stay holy, my friends.